Good morning, everyone. Today is a special day. We've got a small technicality as we are waiting for Ruth. We just want to say good morning, everyone. We are happy you are here. Please just say good morning, good morning. We just want to prepare you as she is, coming on. Because today is a very special day. We are talking financial freedom. We are talking financial freedom, and this financial freedom happens to everyone. So, as we celebrate day 40 of the productivity activism, we are saying get out there and be prepared to make sure that whatever it is that we are doing it for the best of ourselves, so that as we are productive, we're also taking care of our finances, because finances matter in our own environment. Finances matter. So what have we been doing on this platform? And as we come today, Mondays, we had, Rev Water, and we just want to pass our condolences to him. It's a very special week. This week, there's so many funerals, but Rev Water lost, his daughter, Chimoemwe, and we just pass our condolences to him. He hasn't been, able to come on the platform because he's had some noise in that line. So we are so happy that we are here today to just pass sincere condolences to Rev Water. And I also have, many funerals. A friend of ours, Kaweche, passed on, the other day. So we're really sad, but as we know, we have to remain productive, and this is why we show up. We show up every day on this platform for the last 5 years and still counting. So welcome, Ruth. She's here, and today is day 14. She's looking really productive where she is, and it doesn't matter what kind of noise you have. You just have to show up and be intentional about it as we enter day 40 of our national productivity activism, of those 100 days that we need to be intentional and beyond. So Ruth, over to you. I just had to warm up as I know you've been here, but circumstances this, but we have to be here, and it's okay. So you don't even have to. I've done the apologies for starting late, so just go on and give us how we can be financially independent and ready for our financial status around ourselves and our families and the things that we do. Over to you.
Thank you very, very much. Very exciting that we never give up despite any challenges, and that's part of productivity. Productivity means you have to make use of every moment of your time that you have to make up even for what you have lost. So today we're talking about financial freedom. And financial freedom is a very broad topic. Like I always tell you, anything to do with finances in 30 minutes is not exhaustive. So we're just going to focus on some highlights on what it means to be financially free. And so I always start with the biblical concepts of stewardship. Anything to do with managing finances is a stewardship responsibility bestowed upon us by our God. And so we ought to be very, very deliberate and intentional on how we manage our finances, so that when the day comes, when the Lord asks you how you've managed what he gave you to manage, you will not have excuses. You are stewards of your time, stewards of your resources, stewards of your money, stewards of people that God places in your life. And so dealing with these matters calls for quite a lot of things. If you are bringing in the aspect of God, accountability, responsibility, integrity, and faithfulness and honesty, all these words that go with being truthful about how you handle your monies. So financial freedom, this is the ultimate or the pinnacle of your financial status, the financial journey. So it is a progressive journey that you start off with financial security, and then you move on to financial independence, and ultimately financial freedom. Yes, they all sound the same, but they are different. Let's start with financial security. What do we mean by financial security? Financial security is basically the ability to manage your current standard of living in the event that you lost your job. Let's assume you have a job that pays you 6,000 kwacha take home every month. And within that 6,000, you're able to pay your rent, to buy your groceries, to do all the things that you need to do because you're managing a 6,000 budget. So you're going to live within the 6,000. And if you show up to work today and your boss tells you, unfortunately, the company has laid you off, financial security is that position where you're not going to panic because you have enough money to take care of yourself for the next 3 or so to 6 months. So you have your emergency fund that you have built up. Remember when we talked about savings, you're building up an emergency fund. So you have enough money in your emergency fund to help you manage your standard of living of 6,000 per month for the next 3 to 6 months while you're looking for something else to do. So you're financially secure if you have that. If you don't, this is where people start to panic. You start going to relatives, friends, and asking for help, and even start engaging yourself in some panic activities. And then the physical health starts to get compromised, and then the vicious cycle goes on and on and on. So it is important to have this emergency fund that I talked about when we're talking about savings. So if you don't have that, please start building your emergency fund, because one day, it may not even be a job actually. One day you may lose your current income, source of income. You could be running a business that's giving you 6,000 kwacha net per month. That is your source of income. So if that source of income stops to provide you with that money, how are you going to survive the next 3 months? If not, then you're not financially secure. If you're able to, then you're financially secure. So financial security is the first step to the ladder of achieving financial freedom. So let's assume you are able to do that. Then you step on to the next financial ladder, which is financial independence. Now, hear me very clearly. They're very similar, but they're quite different. Financial independence now focuses on the ability to cover your current cost of living continuously in the event that you lost a job. You are even ready to retire. Maybe you're already in your 50s, 60s, and you're laid off. You're financially independent if you have certain streams of income that are permitting you to continue living the same standard of living as before, except in this case, you do not need to look for a job because the income that you're getting from whatever your sources is sufficient to cover your current standard of living. Again, I'll use the same example of 6,000. If your current standard of living is 6,000 and you have a job paying you 6,000, in addition, you should have another source of income bringing you 6,000 per month. Let's assume you have a flat that you are renting out and you are living in another flat that you own. So if you lost your job or you lost your business that was bringing in 6,000 kwacha per month, you are now depending on the business or other sources of income that are giving you the rent. Sorry, I use the flat as an example. You're now depending on the flat that's bringing you that 6,000 rent for your current standard of living. So if you are able to manage that, then you are financially independent. I hope you get the difference. So in order, again, to get to financial independence, you need to have done something prior when you were working, when you were getting that source of income. What is it that you should have done? One, you should have built your emergency fund. That fund should still be there, by the way. In the event that your tenant moves out, what happens? You should still have your emergency fund that will carry you through until you find a replacement tenant. So you ought to have built your emergency fund. In addition, you ought to have built another source of stream of income or an investment that's now earning you passive income. You could have put money maybe in bonds where your interest that you earn spread over the period gives you an income of 6,000. So you're able to manage that. So that is the difference. The first one is where you only have 3 months to 6 months savings in an emergency fund, which are able to maintain your current standard of living. And then the second one, they're looking for another job or another source of income. The second one is you don't even have to look for a job. You can even choose to retire, but you have enough income coming in from another source that's able to cover your current standard of living. So let's move on to the the third, which I call the pinnacle of your financial ladder or financial success. And this is financial freedom. Now, financial freedom, listen to me carefully. This is where you are able to generate enough passive income to cover your ideal lifestyle. Ideal lifestyle. Now, we are not talking about your current standard of living. We're talking about the lifestyle. Things that you have desired to do in your life, things that you have dreamt to do in your life. Not only that 6,000, that's covering your rent, your food, your groceries, your toiletries, your transport, your whatever things that you do on a monthly basis, your bills. This one goes way far and beyond. It focuses on your dream lifestyle, your dream choices. It is the ability to make choices in life without being driven or hindered by money. In other words, it covers your wants and your luxuries, not just your basic needs. This goes beyond. This is where you find all these millionaire characters that have so much money coming around them and they're able to do what they want. But I'm not talking about even those high levels. You can attain financial freedom even living here in Zambia. Your desires, your ideal lifestyle may be to live in a bigger house in a certain neighborhood, or to support a particular charity, or to support a certain group of people, vulnerable people in your family, to attain certain levels of education, or to do certain businesses, or just to fund some charity work. It may be to do with children, vulnerable children, or disabled people, whatever it may be. This is the ability to be able to. So I hope you get the major differences between the three. So financial freedom is now like the climax. This is where every person would desire to want to be, so that you are not hindered by money, but you're able to pursue all the things that you desire to do. You meet somebody who's in need and believe that they really need your support. You're not going to say, if I remove 2,000, then I'll remain with 4. Then what happens to my monthly budget? No. This is where you have reached that stage where you're able to part away with money, not carelessly for sure, but you're able to part away with money for a good cause without disturbing your lifestyle, without disturbing your dream life. You're able to do all that. Now, to get to that, you see, it's a ladder. So we started with financial security, you climb on to financial independence, and now you've reached financial freedom. Now, all that calls for a lot of planning, a lot of intentionality, a lot of discipline when you have the money. None of this is talking about having a huge salary. If you are earning a huge salary, or your business is giving you a lot of money today, that is current income. It's not sustainable. If you lost that business, then you're back to square one. If you lost that job, you're back to square one. So I'm not talking about having a lot of money. A lot of people mistake financial freedom to mean having a good job that's paying you a big salary, having a good business that's giving you a lot of profit. That is not financial freedom, because that status is temporal. It could disappear immediately. Your health fails you. You are not able to do that business anymore, if it maybe depended on you, or you are not able to pursue that job anymore because you're not able to, or you've just been fired. So those are not things that help you attain financial freedom. It's when you have been very intentional in planning and you have a stream of income that is able to give you this lifestyle that we're talking about. I'm not talking about extravagancy here. I'm talking about a lifestyle that is productive, a lifestyle that is God-honoring, a lifestyle that not only meets your own dream desires, but also things around people around you who may not be as privileged as you are. So what is it that you need to be doing in order to attain this? This is where all the things that are presented in the past come in. Firstly, to achieve this level, you need to plan. Planning is very crucial. You have to be intentional about having to know where you are going. If you don't know where you are going, you won't be able to take the right route. So if you know what you want to achieve in life, you start planning and work towards that. This is where setting smarter goals comes in. What are your smarter goals when it comes to your financial life? And then you need to be intentional in your savings, because savings is what will build that emergency fund we talked about. That emergency fund should always be there under all those 3 levels of financial freedom, independence, and security. Financial emergency fund should always be there. So saving is crucial, and always check that emergency fund is always meeting your current standard of living, because you may have started off with a 6,000 standard of living. Now you've reached a 15,000. That emergency fund should match your current standard of living. So always increase it to that level. And then you need to be intentional in investment strategies. Now, this is where the boys and the girls differentiated from men and women, because this is where that stream of income that will give you financial freedom will come from when you have made intentional investment strategies. So this topic of investment I have not covered. It will be my next topic after this. God willing, next Monday we'll be covering investment strategies. So no one achieves financial freedom or early retirement overnight. It is a process. And there are many milestones as you go along the way, which you have to tick off until you get to that status. So what are some of the things that you need to do in order to attain this financial freedom? One, I already alluded to it, set smarter goals, goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-bound, exciting, risk assessed, and you review those goals periodically. This is from our mindset change process. We actually add an ER, general management concepts talk about SMART goals, but we go smarter goals. Then you should also look at the aspect of budgeting, which we've already covered. Start working seriously on your budget. Don't just spend your money that you earn anyhow. Always have a plan for the money that you are earning before you actually earn it. And within that budget component should be savings. And that's the next one, your savings. Be intentional about your savings. Use the 20% rule, or use the where you start a little bit at a time, 100 kwacha, 200 kwacha, 300 kwacha, until you reach a level that you're comfortable with, and mark it there and continue consistently saving that amount. You need to be good at debt management. And if you are already in debt, strategize how you will pay off those debts, because those are the debts that will hold you back towards your goals or your plans to achieve financial freedom. Clear those debts as soon as you possibly can. I gave you some ideas on how you can manage your debts. And if you're not in debt, avoid debt at all costs, unless they are capital debts, debts that are going to add value towards your balance sheet, debts that are going to make you progress in what you're doing, help you earn more money. Investment debts, capital debt, maybe a house to appreciate in value, or capitalize your business in order to grow the money that you're getting from that business. And then there's investments, and then there's also retirement. Investment, will be covering this topic next week. I won't preempt it. And then plan for your retirement. Look at your age today and the age for before you retire. How many years do you have in between? And then your plans should work within those number of years. But mind you, those years may not be all the ideal years, because there could be situations where your health fails you or your financial status changes. And so a lot of factors. So do what you can as soon as you are able to. Lastly, I'll talk about the consequences. The consequences of not taking care of your financial welfare in order to attain financial freedom. When the time comes when you lose all these jobs or streams of income we're talking about, a lot of things can kick in, as I talked about previously. Physical health gets compromised, emotional health gets compromised. Physical health, you become depressed, you become anxious, you have chronic illnesses, insomnia, failing to sleep, you resort to substance abuse, heart disease, and all these things start coming into your life. And then emotional health, your relationships get strained. Your children feel the punch, your spouse, your friends, everybody around you start noticing that things are not well with you. And so mental stress will be the ultimate where you find yourself now not even in control of your faculties. Everything now is being worked around you by other people. You're no longer working on your own because you don't have that mental ability to manage yourself. So I'll end by asking these questions. And if your answer is no, then we need to do something about it. If you lost your job today and you're under 50 years old, so if you're currently working and you lost your job and you're under 50 years old, are you able to manage your current lifestyle? And if you're already over 50 years old, if the answer is no, then you are financially unwell. And if you are over 50 years old, you already don't have a job, and you're not able to manage your current financial status, then you need to seek advice as well. You are not well. You need somebody to help you in your current situation to manage the little residue that you have. You may not attain the ideal that you could have had you planned better, but at least you can do something. Please make use of your financial advisors. They are trained to do these things. You can find them in the bank. You can actually Google on the internet. We have a lot of financial advisors that can guide you and help you in whatever situation you're in. Even in a situation where you have a lot of money, maybe you just don't know how to manage your current situation. You don't know how to come up with those smarter goals. You need help. You're financially sick. Just when you're mentally sick or physically sick, you need a doctor, you need a social counselor. Similarly, when you're financially sick, you need a financial advisor. I'm sorry I've had to rush through this within the short time that I had to present, but I hope I've given you enough information to know the difference between financial security, financial independence, and financial freedom, and how you can start planning your life to attain financial freedom, which I said is the pinnacle to financial success. That's where everybody wants to be. And like I said, you are not talking about being a millionaire. You can be financially free here in Zambia. You can be financially free at a tender age. And so please plan your finances right and seek God's guidance and wisdom to help you in all these areas that you need to be working on starting from today. The next best opportunity, like I've always said, is now. So if you have not thought about these things before, now is the time to think about these things. Thank you very much for listening, and I appreciate all of you who've taken time to join us today. God bless you and have a wonderful day. Hope one day we shall meet you in your financial success path. God bless.
God bless. Oh, thank you so much. God bless indeed. Yes, we started 8 minutes late, so we want to keep time. So yes, indeed. Goodbye and see you see you tomorrow on
Tomorrow.
Tuesday. Yes, see you tomorrow. Keep your bundles going. Thank you, Ruth. That was wonderful. I've learned so much out of this. Yeah, thank you so much.